In the previous videos, we've created an account and project, loaded our data and transformed it to get it business ready. Now we're going to automate our pipelines. Looking back at the transformation pipeline we built last time, we could manually run this, but instead, let's now automate the pipeline so that the transformation runs straight after the orchestration load, and we don't have to run them both separately. And there are plenty of things you can do in an orchestration pipeline. You can use high-code options such as Python pushdown, for example. You can perform DDL tasks such as create tables and deleting tables. You can write your own SQL scripts, and you can also control the logic of how the job flows. For this example, we're going to keep it relatively simple and edit this pipeline so that it runs our transformation after loading the data. Let's pick an AND component and drag it out onto the canvas. This makes sense as we only want to transform our data once the Excel query and the Google Sheets query have finished successfully. If we hover over the component, we can see that there are 3 output nodes. One for failure, which is red, one that will trigger regardless, which is grey, and one for success, which is green. We want our transformation only after the success of these components, so we're going to drag the green node, meaning if both Excel and Google Sheets query components succeed in loading data, then we can move on to the next step, which will be to call our transformation job. To do this, add a new component, and the one we need is called Run Transformation. This means we can run our transformation pipeline as part of our orchestration pipeline. If we click on the properties, you'll see all of our existing pipelines, including the demo GreenWave pipelines, as well as our transformation pipeline we just created called Join Dataset. So let's select our pipeline. And if we run this orchestration job now, once it has finished loading the data, it will proceed to the AND component, and then it's time to run the transformations. The Run Transformation component will run our transformation pipeline. In the task history panel, we can see that it is all run correctly. If we go in, we can look at the task details, and it's going to tell us component by component what order they ran in, and how long it took, and how many rows have been affected. And when we get to the Run Transformation, we can explore this and see what it is doing and whether it succeeded or not. Great, now we have a load and transformation we can run whenever we like. But what if we want to run it every month or every week? Let's now create a schedule to run our pipelines automatically, so that our social media data is kept up to date without us having to manually update and run it. The first thing we have to do is commit the pipeline, because the projects run on Git branches, so you can collaborate with teams more easily and not override each other's pipelines. We're happy with the changes we've made, and we'd like to publish them ready for scheduling. So first we're going to have to commit our changes. Let's enter a commit message of social media data. Let's commit the change, then push the local changes. This will give us the option to publish the branches and make it available to the scheduler as an isolated copy. This means further edits to the branches won't affect the scheduled job unless it's published. Making your schedules safer. Let's now back out into the main project screen. We can change the name and the description of the project. We can also see what type of project it is. For ours, it's a full SaaS project, all managed by Matillion, including the Git repository. It's on Snowflake, which is why we could use things like Snowflake Managed Staging in our data loading components. Under branches, we can see the branches for our project. So far, we've been working on the main branch. And at the moment, we've only got one branch. Usually you'd make a new branch to make edits or new pipelines, then merge it into the main branch when you're happy with it. But as we're just starting, and this is an example, we'll stay on main. The environment is a Snowflake environment on a Matillion-hosted agent. This was all created for us during the setup. Let's move to the Schedules tab and create a schedule for our pipelines. And let's add a new one. We're going to call it Social Media Weekly. We need to select an environment to know which database and schema to use these pipelines with. And we'll use it with our default Snowflake environment, just as before. Then we'll need to select the pipeline we want to schedule. Looking at the list, we don't want to schedule any of our GreenWave demo pipelines, we want to schedule our new pipeline. Now remember, the joined dataset transformation pipeline is now being called automatically by the load orchestration pipeline, meaning we only need to schedule our orchestration pipeline, called load social media data, as our published pipeline. Now we need to choose the time zone for our schedule. In this instance, that is London. And we'll set the frequency to every 7 days, because we want the pipeline to run weekly. Also choose a time for the schedule to run. Click Create and the schedule is created. Okay, let's do a little recap of our pipeline runs. Head up to the top left menu, go to Manage and then Pipeline Runs. Here we can see the pipelines that we've run in the last X amount of time. Now here we can see that we've run each one twice during the course of this demo. You can see the times that we ran it and also who ran it. Now we can also access the lineage for our pipelines. Click on Data Lineage, and here we can check where the data in our social media output table has come from. You can see here the columns in the tables. But where did it get these columns from? The source data is linked to the final table so that you can see the likes and post title columns came from the posts data source, whereas the username and country come from the user's data source. This T symbol represents our transformation pipeline, and its place in the lineage shows you which data it's acting on. Using the data lineage view, you can quickly look at tables in your data warehouse and understand how and where the data came from. So there we have it, we've fully automated our pipelines. But what else can we do? In the next video, we'll have a look at the Gen AI capabilities of the Data Productivity Cloud.